My name is Mike. I grew up in New Jersey, moved to Colorado in 2010. Okay.
the student actually gives, just takes you through what they've done. And the teacher doesn't say a word the whole time. It's interesting.
You know, right, James. All righty, thank you very much. Let's call to order Basalt Planning and Zoning meeting Tuesday, October 20th, 2020 at 6:18 p.m. Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Okay, Bill Marin,
Yo.
Joan Keith, Gino Rossetti,
Here.
Eric Volzek,
Here.
Tracy Bennett, absent, Bernie Grauer,
Here.
Rob Levitt.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All righty. Thank you, Susan. First order of business is to approve the minutes October 6th, 2020. Does anybody have any changes or additions to make to it?
No.
No? So if not, let's have a motion to approve.
We'll move.
All righty. First, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand, Eric and Rob.
Okay, that passes unanimously from what I could see. Eric, your thumb was up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, good.
Okay,
You're in a low situation, so all I saw was kind of.
I'll move it away from my face.
There you go. There you go. Okay, item 3A, public hearing, HOVA application. This is Sarah's, right?
yes, right.
That's correct. Okay, so I am speaking through my phone and using my camera on my computer. If for any reason you can't hear me or if I'm talking too loud, please just give me the wave or something, okay? All right, so I'm going to be sharing my screen here. Let's see. Screen one.
And while you're doing that, why don't I just read the title? It's consideration of an application submitted by Michael Horvath to repeal the current site plan approval and to approve a new site plan for a revised single-family residence design at 101 Tucker Lane, Lot B of the Mabel subdivision. Site plan review in the Mabel subdivision is authorized to be reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission and does not require review by the Basalt Town Council. So Sarah?
All right, thank you very much. As you know, I'm Sarah with the Planning Department. We have the applicant here today. He's the owner of 101 Tucker Lane. His name is Mike Horvath, and you'll be hearing from him just a little bit later. Let me see if I can start the slideshow. That will help. Okay, so some of you had visited the site. We did a quick site visit prior to this hearing, and we had Commissioners Marin, Valzik, and Levitt were at the site. Hopefully you're all familiar with this area. So currently 101 Tucker Lane is a vacant lot, as you see the picture here on the left. It measures about 3,230 square feet in size. It is located just on the corner of Cypress Drive and the beginning of the Tucker Lane alleyway there. This is primarily a flat site. It slopes upwards when you get towards the rear of the site and start climbing up towards Homestead. Currently, the site lacks sewer and water service lines to that site, so it's something that the applicant's been working on. This is Lot B of the Mabel subdivision, as Susan had introduced, which was approved by Ordinance Number 1, Series of 2017. That approval granted a subdivision approval for 3 lots, as well as final site approval to Lot B. At the time, an owner had come forth with a different site plan for approval. So in 2019, there was an amendment to that site plan approval. In 2020, the then owner did an extension of vested rights, and those were extended through March 23rd of 2021. And that then owner did not act upon that approval and sold the lot to the current applicant, Mr. Horvath. And so what the applicant is proposing is to construct a 2-story, 2-bedroom, single-family home. This is modular construction. It measures approximately 1,300 square feet in size, includes a substantial upper story deck that's also serving dual purpose as a carport. And here you can see in plan view, looks like my, color shifted a little bit, but the yellow represents the residence. The orange here is that upper story deck along with serving as the dual purpose of the carport. And I outlined the building setback or in red so you get an idea of everything being contained on the site there. So staff has identified a few items for discussion with the P&Z this evening. First being consistency with the master plan, consistency with the zoning and prior approvals, neighborhood character, want to touch on the retaining walls, and then talk about agency referrals. So first of all, the consistency with the master plan. Now, staff finds the proposed development to meet the goals and objectives of the 2020 master plan. The applicant's proposing small-scale residential housing. It's on a small lot. The proposal is infill development, and it meets the goal of providing diverse housing in close proximity to an existing commercial center. It's consistent with zoning and prior approvals. The proposed structure is within the tolerance of allowable height, allowable floor area. It's 2 stories as is permitted, and it is within the defined setbacks as I earlier showed that to be. The applicant is proposing 3 total on-site parking spaces, 2 beneath that upper deck carport, and a third, which I've kind of called out at the upper northwest corner of the site here in a little orangish color, and that is on the site. So that 1 extra parking space exceeds the requirements. And this is good for guests or overflow parking. We all know it's a little bit tight over there, so staff appreciates the extra thought into parking in that area. Moving on to neighborhood character. The applicant's original proposal depicted the front door of the residence facing onto Tucker Lane, as you see in the image above. Staff had asked the applicant to consider breaking up that front facade of the building with an overhang or some sort of architectural feature that would create a little bit more of a pedestrian scale. And the applicant did consider the staff's request and decided to return with the proposed revision, which you see on the bottom here. And this removes the front entry door from the Tucker Lane facade, where it used to be right up here, and places it on the western side of the building, so it's looking, facing onto Cypress Drive. Staff's reviewed the architecture in the surrounding neighborhood and finds that this side-loaded door is consistent with the neighborhood character. And this is you're walking up that Tucker Lane alleyway there. You'll see the majority of the residential units along this portion of Tucker Lane have entryways that are perpendicular to Tucker Lane. This is the one that's directly neighboring 136 West Homestead is actually the address of this lot. We see 105 West Cypress and 114 Tucker Lane. So the homes here, they're unique. They tend to make good use of their space, their smaller space. Here's if you keep continuing down Tucker Lane, you see also this is facing Tucker Lane. So this particular site is facing onto Cypress Drive, and you just have kind of some funky architecture down in this area, very unique. So staff supports the entryway in its proposed location, although we do have some concern with that door being placed underneath that carport deck feature. So here we are with this new design. This deck here has got a depth of about 18 feet deep. And, staff is concerned primarily that the front door would be essentially hidden underneath that deck. Front doors are an essential feature in creating a pedestrian-scaled environment and development. And to that end, so staff suggests that the applicant either consider reducing the size of the deck or shifting it towards the rear of the site in order to open up that front door. Staff would support an awning or a smaller overhang in this location, as we understand that deck does provide some protection from the elements. But it's something we'd like the P&Z to weigh in on tonight. Moving next to discussion on that retaining wall. I've outlined it here in green. It's at the rear of the site. The applicant's proposing a 6-foot retaining wall in this location and landscaping at the property line that's just above this wall. In order to lessen the grade difference in this location and also considering the consistency with the other retaining walls within this area of the neighborhood, staff is suggesting that the applicant terrace the retaining wall into 2 3-foot segments. And this would assist with the ability also in maintaining those plantings up in that location, so you're not having to figure out how to get up and over that wall. And it's also consistent with other properties in this area, such as the 105 Cypress, 111 East Cypress, and both of those have rear yards that back up onto Tucker Lane. So our last part goes on to the discussion of referral comments. The fire department comments do include that the proposed landscaping must be at least 15 feet from any structure on the site, with some exceptions if the plants are part of their approved list of fire-wise plants, and that was a list that was provided by the fire department to the applicant. Staff also included a condition that any landscaping at the rear of the site be reviewed and approved by the fire department so as not to impact the adjacent site at the rear of the property, in case they want to rebuild up to their maximum that they could build. We want to make sure that that's not precluding them, the neighboring property building where they want to build. The applicant has satisfied the water department's preferred location of the water line to this lot, coming from West Cypress. The applicant is working with Basalt Sanitation on finalizing some items, but the Sand District has indicated the applicant has a viable plan. So they're working through, the items that would need to meet the sanitation's rules and regulations at this point. One final item, the resolution has item number 17, and this deals with vested rights. And staff initially drafted this item with the March 2021 date as the expiration of vested rights. And this was what was granted earlier this year by the council for the final site plan that was approved, but this was related to an application by the previous owner, not the current application. So we're able to discuss this with the town attorney, that since this resolution repeals that earlier approval, the vested rights will be the typical 3-year vesting that we're all used to seeing. So staff has sent the P&Z some language that has been amended in order to include this. So in conclusion, staff supports the applicant's request for final site plan review at the site with the conditions outlined in the resolution, which include those I mentioned about terracing, the proposed retaining wall, removing the upper level deck from the front door, but allowing it to face onto Cypress Drive, as well as the extension of vested rights to 3 years from the date of approval. So this is a public hearing. Staff suggests that we turn it over to the applicant for a brief conversation or presentation, and field any commissioner questions that you may have at that time, and then have the P&Z, then prior to opening up for a public comment, having the P&Z ask any questions they may have of the applicant or staff. So I will turn it over to Mr. Horvath this time.
Thank you, Sarah. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, and Sarah and the rest of the staff and referral agencies for putting in the time and effort to review this and provide comment. With regards to the retaining wall, we are more than willing to tier it and have 2 3-foot retaining walls in the back to provide vegetation and a maintainable landscape, and work with the fire department on the FireWise planting list. When it comes to the visibility of the front door, we would like to propose a couple more options, just because we feel that staff's proposal could negatively affect the functionality of the site. When it comes to moving the deck to closer to the rear of the lot, it is a small lot, and that would reduce the outdoor usable space. We're trying to implement a garden to meet some of those green build rules, and the size of that garden will ultimately be limited if the deck is moved back possibly. If the deck is shrunken by 3 feet to allow for the front door to be open to the sky with an awning, the functionality of it as a carport, it does not fit an entire vehicle under it, and living in Colorado mountainous community, we'd like our cars covered and utilize that deck as well as a carport. We understand the importance of identifying a front door for, delivery drivers, guests, trick-or-treaters, whoever it may be. And we'd like to talk through some ideas of combinations of either signage that's visible from Tucker Lane, lighting, as well as a pedestrian path that would provide a clear delineation to the front door. If I could share my screen, show you a picture of kind of an idea of what we're trying to mimic. This house shown up on the screen is definitely different from what we're intending. Our front door would be closer to the entrance of the carport, so it'd be right more or less on the corner as shown in the elevations shown by Sarah. So we do believe with the combination of lighting, a pedestrian path, or a simple sign on the edge, the Tucker facing facade, that would substantially allow for an identification of the front door without reducing the size or relocating the deck / carport. So we'd like to have that conversation with the board. But Sarah did a good job of presenting everything else, and I think that's everything we had.
And Sarah, if you could maybe show the old language and the new language for condition number 17. So if you can.
Sure, give me a moment. Yep. Okay, yep. And I could take over Sharon's screen here.
Yeah, I'll stop.
Gosh, it's so funny to get used to these things. Let's see. Okay, I just lost you all. Here we go. Sorry, I just had a brain fizzle. Here we go, sharing screen. So here is the amended language, Resolution 4, Series of 2020, Item 17. So the current language discusses that approval through March 23rd, 2021, and that was pursuant to Ordinance number 8, Series of 2020. Again, because we have notices as repealing that approval, we were able to grant the full 3 years of vested rights per the town's attorney. So that would be the language that would be replaced. And that's pretty much your standard language that you'll see in primarily most ordinances.
And just to maybe remind folks that we're approving the site plan, repealing the old one and approving the new one through this proposed Resolution 4, 2020. So Sarah just reviewed condition number 17. The condition that the applicant was discussing is condition number 6 in the proposed resolution. So that was one of the discussion items that Sarah had identified.
So just to be clear, Susan, do we have to, if we decide to approve this, do we make a motion to accept that language, or is that just baked into the?
No, you should do the amended, your motion should refer to the amended condition number 17, and you may want to weigh in on how you want the language on condition number 6. If you're happy with staff's recommendation, which says that the front door is approved along the western facade of the building, so both the applicant and staff agree on that, and staff's recommendation was the front door shall not be covered by the upper level deck. An awning or overhang may be installed over the entry door to provide protection from the elements, which shall be reviewed and approved by the town planner prior to installation. So that's the other kind of condition under discussion. And of course, you guys can identify any other condition in the proposed resolution to talk about too.
Okay. Well, let's go through commissioner questions of staff and the applicant, and then we'll go to the public hearing, and following that will be our time for comments. So let's start. Eric, do you want to ask any questions of staff or the applicant?
Sure. Just a couple random things. Mike, I didn't really see in the packet, we did a lot of work in the last year, revising our master plan and everything else. How does the house and the construction and what you want to do fit within the town's sustainability projects and energy efficiency work?
Great question, Eric. With the modular design and the modular construction, it will limit on-waste sites substantially. It will also cut down on construction time on site, which will lessen the impact around the neighborhood. We plan to install a heat pump system versus your standard forced air system. So that will also achieve 100% efficiency down to 13 degrees Fahrenheit, somewhere in that, depending on the model. So it's a very efficient heating system. We don't plan on adding any cooling. We also tend to have a garden on site, which will provide food and sustainability within that realm.
Cool. Thank you for that. I don't know if this is for the applicant, for Sarah. I guess starting with staff, with the front door question, would the solution applicants suggesting work to emphasize the front door, as the town is suggesting, is important for the community character? Is that enough within a lighting or a pathway, or I was thinking maybe even like a colored door that would stand out? Would that be enough, or do you really need to see the front door?
I can say that I really appreciate the pedestrian pathway. A very delineated pedestrian pathway, I think, is always very helpful, showing you where you're supposed to go. I have a hard time saying we would require a front door of a certain color. I think that's amazing. It'd be beautiful. But there's something that, we really don't regulate, that kind of thing. Or signage. Great, it's helpful, it's wonderful. Lighting, wonderful. It's just, in my mind, I just think of the, what's called the UPS or trick-or-treater test, if I walk up to there, do I know where I'm supposed to go? So I think it helps it. I don't think it necessarily solves it. But I'm willing to, I'd love to hear what the P&Z has in mind on this.
All right, Eric, any more questions?
No, I can wait to comments, and that was my two primary questions.
Rob, do you have any questions for staff or the applicant?
It's just a question for staff. Looking at the drawings, I can't tell where the driveway is. And do we have a rule on how wide the road cut can be, et cetera?
Let me see. If I could share screen again real quick here. So are you saying you're not sure what portion?
Hey, Sarah, you're dropped off. Did everyone else drop off? Sarah? I think Sarah, stop her.
You have the sheet?
Yeah. The number is right there. Sarah?
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by...
So Sarah's like...
She's still going?
Yeah. Bill, the Zoom dropped, so stop Sarah from talking.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound.
This is happening way too much.
Please enter the meeting password followed by pound. You are in the meeting now. There are 10 participants in the meeting.
So can you hear me now, Chair Maron?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, so, Michael Horvath or none of us or anybody on, the Community Grassroots TV heard Sarah's response, so, if Sarah, you could kind of go back on the driveway, and actually, I was just wondering, maybe it might be easier if Michael walked us through how the driveway is situated on this?
Sure. So as you can see on Sarah's screen, there's a yellow square in the upper left-hand corner. That hatching behind that yellow square is the driveway. And then there would also be driveway under the carport, which is shaded in a rose coloring. So that front door would be right kind of where Sarah's mouse is currently, right on that west-facing facade, as close to the front as possible. And we do feel that's pretty similar to other residences throughout the neighborhood.
Well, I think with this question, Commissioner Levitt was asking about where the driveway was, and so it's this kind of marbled area, cobbled area, and goes underneath the carport. And then he was asking if there's any specific requirements that of a width requirement of a driveway. Is this maybe too liberal? I think was where Commissioner Levitt was getting at. And I had asked if James or Susan, if you had, I'm unaware of any requirements, specific width or of this. And I feel it reflects the Public Works building that's across, just directly across the alley here from it. But if, James or Susan, if you're able to weigh in on any of that.
Do you want to take a stab at it and I'll jump in?
I think the subdivision section does.
You know, I just kind of quickly kind of reviewing our subdivision requirements, and I'm not finding a maximum curb cut, because normally everything in the town is addressed through a PUD, and kind of the PUD's kind of requiring it. I would say if you feel like that the opening is excessive, you know, you could amend the site plan to show a smaller opening.
I don't have any issue with it. It was more a curiosity question.
Okay.
And some clarification.
I do.
Go ahead.
I think there's a minimum width, but
Yeah,
not
a maximum, right. I'm sorry, I should have said it that way. There's minimums, but not maximums.
And then
Okay,
kind
that's
of.
all I have, Bill.
Oops.
Okay, Rob, do you have any further questions? You're done?
That's all I have.
Okay, Gino, do you
Yes.
have any
I
questions?
want to follow up on Rob's questions because I don't think Sarah's answered it correctly, but I could be mistaken. The drawing shows the balcony going at least 80% of the house, or 75%. I don't want to argue, and yet I don't know how. You've only got, according to Sarah and the site plan, you've only got the first two bays for parking. I don't understand how you come in off of Tucker and where do you actually go in. So Sarah, if you could just carry me through that, it might make me a little happier.
Why don't I'll pull this up again, share my screen, and then maybe Michael could just kind of walk you through where you'd be pulling in, if that would be more satisfactory.
Yes. So returning to the
For
site
example,
plan.
what is the yellow block on the very corner of their site? What
Let's
is
talk
it?
about the
What's it
orange
designate?
That yellow orangish block is a third parking stall that Sarah had put on the site plan to demonstrate the addition of a third
That's a
site plan,
parking stall.
or third parking stall.
And
excuse
then
me.
under this extended bay, which I'm assuming is the carport, you've got two more cars. So So the cars are coming in on that white, or do the cars park?
Can you control the cursor or not? I think it'd be helpful for, Michael to explain how the cars enter the carport. Michael, could you do that?
Yeah, of course. I requested, control.
Yep, I gave it to you.
Okay. So the cars, the dotted lines to the left of the site plan is the limits of Sopers Drive. The cars entering this site would turn right onto Tucker Lane, which is a small one-lane gravel street, and they would turn right and come head into this parking carport slash deck, which is highlighted in rows. So they would be able to pull in, be fully covered, and off the street.
My question, Sarah, I'll go again. The drawing on the elevation looks like that's,
This elevation?
yeah, the balcony going across is at least 2/3 of the building, and yet on the floor plan, you're just giving us, it's only maybe 20 feet long. Which is it? Which is right?
Both. It's a very slender building. And Michael, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's about, if memory serves, about 16 feet or less is the actual width of that building.
Correct. And
the
what
carport is
he's
about 18.
and what he's referring to on this elevation, if you go back to the plan view, it's an elevated walkway that goes from the sliding door proposed on the west
Thank
facing in
you.
the back. So there's a slim pedestrian or a slim raised walkway from that door above what's labeled as a shed and garden on this. And that's where you see the extended decking. The decking is only 20 feet deep with the full deck, but then it is extended to meet the upper floor entry.
Well, with your arrow,
I failed to color that in, and it would have been helpful if I had.
Sarah, with your arrow, show me what the outside edge of the whole terrace is. Not the terrace, but the supported porch.
Can you see my arrow, or is that, I think it's waiting for you to, it says?
Okay. Can you see my arrow, Gino?
Down at the corner of the carport, I'm assuming that's all covered and that's a porch. Is it a deck on top?
It's a deck on top. It's a carport, so it's uncovered. And then that big orange square is the carport, and then there is additional deck that is kind of like, on this it looks almost like a catwalk because of how slender it is comparatively. That is abuts right to that upper story up to the building. So there's like a
So those
slim.
aren't stairs, that's more deck.
Yes, you're correct. That's more deck.
Thank you.
So-
It's just not clear on
And it
the
might-
elevation, and
It could be a little helpful
and it
here.
makes to me, it makes a difference on whether or not your recommendation of this entrance door is right or wrong. So I'll just stop there. You've answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do you know any more questions, or you're questioned out? Okay, Bernie, do you have any questions? Or staff or applicant?
No, I think Gino and Eric took care of my questions. Thank you.
Alrighty, let's open this up for public comment at 6:52 p.m. Susan, do you want to give us a countdown?
Yes, I've started the countdown, and just a reminder that if anybody wants to speak, they should email planning@basalt.net or text 970-379-1514 with your name and your phone number, and we will give you a call. We did not get any requests before the meeting for anyone to speak, and I believe that Sarah had only gotten one call from a neighbor a couple weeks ago, asking questions about the application. So I'm going to really have this just go for 1 minute. That'll allow our 45-second delay. So it's still got some time on it.
We're still missing the Jeopardy music.
I know, everybody keeps on asking me that, but I'm not somebody that plays with my phone a lot. Okay, so I didn't get any, so James found it really fast, but, so we didn't get any text messages and I didn't get any emails, that anybody wanted to speak, so you can close the public hearing.
Close the public comments, section of the public hearing section of the meeting at 6:55 PM. And let's move on to commissioner comments. Bernie, would you like to start with your comments about this project?
Well, I do support infill, and I like that you're maximizing the space on a small lot for a family home, and the modular housing is obviously a very efficient and cost-effective way to go about it, but I really can't support the house design overall. So I think it's very stark, and I cannot accept the carport as being necessary, and I think it detracts greatly from the looks of the house and the character of the neighborhood. It's very ungainly. It covers the door. Plenty of small homes in the Hill District and throughout Basalt do not have covered parking of any kind. Plenty of expensive condos don't even have covered parking. So I don't see that as a necessity, and I think it detracts. Trying to do that, you're going a bridge too far. So I would cut down that to just a nice little deck away from the door, and I don't want to request a lot of changes to the the design of the building. That would be expensive. So I would request shutters and awnings over the windows, attractive shutters and awnings as a much less expensive alternative. And any other suggestions that our members would make, but I could not approve it with the carport as proposed.
All right, thank you, Bernie. Gino, do you have any comments to make on this?
Yeah, I do. It's unfortunate that the drawing that Bernie is referring to is really so stark and unappealing. It's hard to read. But I kind of look through that, and I have gone to the neighborhood, and I have to disagree with Bernie. I don't think that it'll be, or I think that it'll be compatible with the area. As far as the door goes, it's so far over to the edge. I think it's a non-issue that I don't really care about. I think you're going to get enough through landscaping, through lighting. I think it'll be fine. The difficulty that I have is accepting the fact that you don't think that it's worth a carport. I think a carport is very important here in this area, this climate. Those of us who have carports in garages, we kind of take it for granted, but I have lived in the Elk Run complex and without any carports, and it's always been a very difficult thing to resell because it's so unappealing because of no carport. Thirdly, on the wall, I do agree with staff that I think 2 3-foot walls would be an improvement over one tall 6-foot wall. And I think it would work better for the landscaping and certainly for the neighbors.
All right, thank you, Gino. Rob, do you have any comments to make?
I'm not a fan of modular housing, but if there's a neighborhood in Basalt that works, I think this might be it. I do not have any issue with the front door. I think it can be well delineated with lighting and landscaping or hardscaping. No, I have no issue with the project, and I'll support it.
All right, thank you. Eric, comments, please.
Echoing the comments, I like the idea of what modular affords in this case. I like the minimization of construction, both waste and time that will required there, which would be an important thing. I have to agree that I don't think the images we've seen are showing the design in its best light. I don't think and the applicant said this, that the way they're going to try and show the carport and delineate the front door is not what that picture was. To me, that looked a lot like something you'd find in Florida, not in Colorado, to me. But I don't have a huge care carport or not carport. I think I agree with Gino. Having a garage in this climate is fantastic. It is great value, added value to the house, added value to your cars. So I don't really have a problem with that at all. I think the applicant seems to be willing to meet us and some of the concerns that we have, and so I think it's a good project.
All right, thank you, Eric. I do have some comments to make myself. First off, I agree with Bernie to an extent about the drawings and the nature of the design, but I depart a little bit when it's, we don't have any design controls, at least in that part of town, and I think it's everyone's God-given right to create a building as beautiful or as ugly as they like in that district. And so I have no real umbrage to take with that. Though I do think that the door under the deck as it's shown should have some attention paid to it. I'm not exactly sure what. Personally, if I was doing it, I'd move the deck back, 6 feet or so and cover that with a little cover just like the other one from the sliding glass door and be done with it. But I think there's not a lot consensus amongst commissioners about this, so I think that one possible way to do this is to ask them just to do something that is acceptable to planning staff or TRC, and just leave it at that and let staff handle it. Next point, I do definitely support the stepped retaining walls at the south side. I think that would be useful, and that is a condition question. So I think that would help soften the whole siting of the project. And I also do support the 3-year vested rights, because I think we need to weigh in on that as per Susan's comments. So all that being said, would somebody like to, because I think we have general support of this, would somebody like to craft a motion to recommend this?
Just to make a suggestion that, Sarah, did you have a suggestion for, I was going to just make a comment.
Well, I guess my comment might be the same as yours, Susan, in that I just wanted to call attention to the way that staff drafted the resolution is such that the front door would not be approved as shown. So I just want to caution, if P&Z is going to go forward with the resolution, we would restate item number 6.
Right, and I was just going to suggest that we we take out the second sentence on number 6 and just replace it with a sentence that before building permit, the applicant will submit a plan to emphasize the front door with items such as lighting and color and pathways, and we'll just say such as, and then they can give us a plan for approval by the planning director. So if we can,
Yep,
that would be my suggestion.
That's what I thought I was saying. So I think that, yeah, I think what you said. I
Okay,
think
so then the motion would be pursuant to how I outlined condition number 6, and with amended condition number 17, providing 3 years of vested rights.
So moved.
All righty, Rob has a first. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
First, we have a second. Any further discussion?
So this is a roll, oh, Bernie has a,
hand up.
Yes, Bernie.
Yeah, after consideration of my colleagues' comments, I'm going to support it with the staff recommendations.
Okay, good. Thank you, Bernie. So we have a first, we have a second. Susan, do we need a roll call vote for this?
yes, we do need to do a roll call on this. Bill Marin,
Yes.
Joan Keefe is absent. Gino Rossetti? Gino?
Yes.
Eric Volzek?
Yes.
Tracy Bennett is absent. Bernie Grauer?
Yes.
And Rob Levitt.
Yes.
Okay, so the motion passed 5-0. Let's just give us a second, because our applicant is here, and that allowed them to kind of leave. So just give us 1 second before we go to our next item.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Mike. I'll be in touch tomorrow and let you know next steps.
All right, sounds good. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
And I'm just gonna show you how to exit, because you're gonna exit a different way than you entered, if you don't mind. Yeah. Here. Okay, so we're back.
Okay, as per the minutes, or the meeting agenda, we are at discussion of election of chair and vice chair. Susan, do you want to handle how this goes?
Sure, you know, it was kind of, you just brought to my attention that we hadn't addressed the election of the chair and the vice chair. And we kind of did that deliberately earlier in the year because COVID was going on and we had a couple reappointments, and so we were kind of waiting for that to settle down and hoping that we were going to go back to a regular meeting schedule. And so this item's really on here for you guys to discuss the timing of when you wanted to do that. The code really envisions that every May that you would have what you call an organizational meeting and would elect a chair and a vice chair. Right now, Bill Marin is the chair and Eric Volzek is the vice chair. And you know, the other thing that's kind of is happening is that we have interviews for P&Z commissioners starting next Tuesday in front of the town council. And as you guys know, the appointments of the P&Z are made by the town council. Joan Keefe has sold her house and is gonna travel around on her RV, and Tracy Bennett has also put in her notice that she's gonna be selling her house, and so she also has 1 or 2 more meetings where she will be a commissioner. So if our normal practice is to have 7 P&Z members and an alternate, and that would provide for, 3 new people to join the P&Z. Technically, you can have 2 alternates, but we usually don't do that just because it's clunky to try to organize that many people, and then there's rules about what alternate can vote and not vote, et cetera. So that's just to be aware of. So really wanted to have a discussion with the P&Z in terms of what your thinking is in terms of the elections. And so that's why the item was on the agenda.
Susan, the new members are interviewing. Is there an indication that they'll get chosen next week then and be here for the next meetings?
I'm not 100% sure how that's gonna play out, because we have a pretty big agenda. So we have the interviews. And so honestly, I don't know how it's really gonna play out. They could make the appointments. They could also, make them at the next meeting, which would be November 10th. In terms of upcoming items, we really don't have that much in front of the P&Z right now. Our next item is the Lot J sketch plan approval, which, James, you're kind of thinking that's gonna be?
It could be near the end of November would be my guess, or potentially early December for Lot J.
Well, my thinking on this is that it would probably be best for us to do have a full roster when we do a vice chair discussion. I don't know why. I have no reasoning to say that. It just seems more appropriate. But if you guys want to do it now, we could do it now.
I would be happy to get on with this. Yes, there's only 5 of us here, but we're normally 5 and 6. But if the 2 candidates that I am thinking of are willing to do it, I would like the commissioners to think about continuing with Bill as our chairman and Eric as our vice chairman. I think they've exemplified how good they are over this past year, and I would be comfortable with serving under them.
Alrighty, as such, I'd be honored to do it if Eric would be willing to do it, and you guys are willing to have the vote now.
Yes.
Eric?
I would err on having the full committee, but at the same time, I'm not opposed to moving forward.
Rob, how do you
And
feel?
I can't decide if we should have the full committee, but then you have 2 or 3 new people that don't really know you guys. And so I wonder if they, would be appropriate for them to vote. So I guess I could go either way.
Yeah.
Well, if everybody feels that way, I'd like to make a motion that we have Bill go on as chairman and Eric go on as vice chairman.
Second.
We have a first, we have a second.
I think we should do a roll call on this.
Okay, do it.
Bill Marin,
Yes.
Joan Keefe is absent. Gino Rossetti,
Yes.
Eric Volzek,
Yes.
Tracy Bennett is absent. Bernie Grauer,
Aye.
and Rob Levitt.
Yes.
Okay, and I would just kind of recommend that we go back and get back in the practice of doing it in May. or at least visiting. I'd say like, let's put it on the May, agenda just to visit what you guys want to do then, and just kind of get into the practice of
think
doing
that's-
that. Okay.
Susan, I have a question, just for my own information. I've never known, is this a yearly election, or is this 3 years, or what is it for?
It really
Or is it
should,
for life
you
anyhow?
should really, honestly, you should revisit it every year. So if you just put it on the tickler to do it in May, that would be good.
I think that's a fine way to do it.
Bill, can you interpret, or I really having a hard time?
Oh, well,
understanding.
it should be yearly, Gino, sorry. Am I not speaking clearly? Should be yearly.
Yearly, Gino, annually?
I'll send you an email.
Okay, thank you.
Annually. Yes.
My hearing aid just came through.
Okay. All righty, so let's plan on doing that every May.
Okay.
So it's now, commissioner comments and staff updates. Does any commissioner have any comments or questions to ventilate to the rest of us?
I have two. Quickly, do you know what's going on across the street from Elements Hotel? Something's being built.
It's like some kind of road work.
Oh, yeah, that's related to the tree farm project. They're doing some sort of utility work to connect under Highway 82. But I don't know the specifics about it. We can get it, though.
I was just curious. I drove by it today. Second thing is, I think especially when we get 2 or 3 new members, we need to have a little primer on exactly how we're going to use a new master plan. Because it seems like we refer to it sometimes we don't refer to it. And I think especially with new people on board, we should kind of all be looking at what comes before us through the same lens. And personally, I thought that was through the lens of our new master plan. So I just want to put that out there. It should be a discussion maybe in the next months when things are slow.
I like that idea.
I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, if you,
Thanks, that's all I got.
okay. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, I think we're ready. We're ready for staff updates.
Okay, well, you probably saw in the paper that we had the first reading on an extension of the vested rights for Stotts Mill. The second reading is next Tuesday. Next Tuesday at the council meeting, we're also looking at the extension of vested rights for the mini storage building. And we, as you can see, if you drive around Willits, there's a lot of activity going on in Willits Town Center. It's pretty amazing to see that everything but Block 8, which is the block across from Elements with the brown fence around it, everything else is well under construction. And so all of the public improvements are being wrapped up as we speak. You saw the article today probably in the paper about the art base. We're still moving forward with the documents that we need for the purchase and working through the plans for the park and kind of how we're gonna approach the RFP process. We've made some minor, we've got the Arbany Pool RFP is coming in the beginning of November. We've made some park improvements over by Ponderosa Park, some new accessibility trail down there, and we're working on some new signage. It's pretty nice improvements that we're making over there. We've also made some improvements to the parcel 10 parcel that is over there off of Evans Road, where the new crosswalk is. with Roaring Fork Outdoor Volunteers. You guys saw the Light Hill Trail improvements were completed for this year, and they'll continue to make refinements on that, which is a huge improvement. The council approved at first reading the code amendment that you guys recommended for the R4MD, and we have tons and tons of interest on properties, land use complaints, interpretations going on. So, and as you guys may not know, but a fence permit sometimes can take as much time as some of these other bigger projects that you guys see. We've been working on our policy for outdoor structures during the winter, that we're anticipating more restaurants will ask for. El Corrida we kind of had to scramble with that one. So we've approved them with some conditions that they have to make some adjustments. Free Range is in for a bubble plan for their restaurants, and we'll be taking the pigs down, you know, the concrete barriers that have been out. We'll be taking those down towards the end of the month or the beginning of next month, just anticipating snow. The annual leaf drop is going on, so don't forget to take your leaves there. What am I missing, James?
I think you hit it all.
We've been extremely busy, and I just hope you can understand that some of these smaller things that you guys don't see can take like just as much time as these development review projects. So we've been extremely busy, so. That's all I have.
All righty, since we are all caught up to date, does anyone have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
We have a first, we have a second.
Who's the second?
All in
I'm
favor?
sorry. Bernie? Okay.
No.
All right. Okay, so that one I think can be a raise your hand.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
We're out of here.
Okay.
Be good, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you.
Let's go.
Good night.
Good night.